I love that song. I never get tired of it. It is the Renegade Fight song. And you're watching the Renegade Report on Bakersfield.com. I'm Francis Mayer, Sports Information Director for the greatest athletic department in the known universe. And right now, we're going to talk about the Renegade football with head statistician Steve Lynch. Steve, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Francis.
Tough season so far. We did not get any love at all from the folks responsible for scheduling, playing 3 of the 6 best teams in the state to start the season. Tarek Yagi, well, it wasn't the best personnel matchup for him in those first 3 games, and he had a lot of turnovers. But as Coach Chudy has told us time and time again, there's 11 guys on the field at a time, and you can't blame just one for the failings of a team. So let's fast forward. We are playing Hancock at home, and the coaches decide to make a pretty amazing decision, frankly, and they call up the young man Dalton Gallus from Kern Valley. And my question to you, Steve, is, was that the right call? Now we've had a larger sample size to reflect on.
You know, I think that so far it's been a fairly successful move. So I guess we would say I think BC has played a little bit of easier competition since Yagi went out.
Oh, Alan Hancock is no Long Beach.
Right. And Canyons is, even though they're, I think, still undefeated, is not a great team as good as the teams BC played earlier.
They're a very bipolar team. I mean,
Right.
You've got them beating Mount San Antonio College, and then you've got them barely eking one out over Pasadena.
Right.
And you felt like that was a good matchup for Bakersfield College. Unfortunately, they weren't able to win the football game.
But it was close. I mean, they
Yep.
had their chances, and you know, I wasn't at the game, but I did listen to the radio broadcast with Vance and Kirk Boyer, and I know they were very upset at that call at the end that with Mount Sac, you know, driving and BC about ready to force them to punt, and then that kind of questionable, penalty on BC. I think it was a personal foul that neither one of them thought was a personal foul that allowed Canyons to keep the ball and basically milk out the rest of the game and win it, where BC probably would have had a chance at least to get the ball back and a chance to go down and either, win the game or, so.
Or at least have a shot at it.
Right.
And I'm actually going to bring in, can you get tight on Steve for just a minute, please? I'm going to bring in untalented Mickey Rourke to talk about the officials, because I would never, ever, as an employee of the college, badmouth any officials. I'm back. Hello? It's just a referee, Steve. I never heard a referee call a false start on the whole offensive line. Who does that? Who does it? So I don't know who does it either. I personally have never heard a referee call false start on the whole offensive line. Have you? As bad Mickey Rourke brought up, I have no criticism of them.
Well,
personally.
I think that's more of a thing where they probably didn't see, because it was only a few years ago that college started singling out
naming names,
naming who the penalty was on. That's a recent thing for you. Younger people that don't remember back in the days, that it wasn't that long ago where in college football wasn't like the NFL, where when they called a penalty, they just called the penalty on the offense or the defense. And so sometimes I think it's difficult to single out on a false start, especially if 2 or 3 people moved. Perhaps, like I said, I didn't see it. I listened to the radio broadcast. They didn't know which one did it, so the ref just decided to, call it on the whole offensive line. I'm not sure.
Right. It just struck me as it just struck bad Mickey Rourke as mildly unusual, along with hold on. He's calling me right now. Yes, Mickey? No, I'll bring that up. Sure. I'll tell JoJo as well. Yeah, he's telling me now that he just really feels like that there wasn't any roughing the passer at all, and that the quarterback totally flopped. So, but the problem is and what a former coach of mine used to say is, if you leave the game up to the referees, they're going to get you every time.
Well, you can't. Yeah, that's true. You cannot put yourself in position to let the referees, decide it late. Not that they decided it, but where you need to put yourself in position where what the referees do late in the game doesn't matter. And that's difficult when you're scrapping and you're not a great team where you can just blow people out. Sometimes that's easier said than done.
Right.
And right now BC's just scrapping to stay in games, try to get that first win, and they don't have the luxury of, blowing teams out and being up by 21 points in the fourth quarter, so bad calls don't matter to them.
Right, and then you have to wonder, like, how much of this is, like, getting inside the head, because we're going to take a look at the highlights, obviously, in just a moment. But there was a play that sort of changed the tenor of the game for the Renegades, where things got awfully serious for a minute. But, Chris, if the highlights are ready, let's go check them out. Wonderful, beautiful day in Southern California. I actually had to build a sunshade to keep the sun off of me up on the roof. Coin toss would go the Renegades' way, and they would elect to receive. And watch this. The defense absolutely stuffing the run. Lay down. You don't get to carry the football. And then next year, they're absolutely going to swarm the situation on the short pass. So BC playing good team defense early on in this game. And that was a play that they went to a couple times, and the Renegades jumped all over it. Dom Frash, number 29. Oh, more swarm defense. But we will get to Dom Frash shortly. Dom has something interesting up his sleeve late in the second quarter. Number 29, the safety, cheating over. He's watching the eyes of the quarterback who's in trouble. And that's my football, Dom Frash says. Another Garces Morel product like Steph Lugo. And right here, though, that there's an exploitation that looks like there's a busted assignment. Nobody over the top there, and unfortunately, they take that all the way into the house. And that would give them a 6-0 lead. The extra point was not good. But right here, it's a beautiful misdirection play, and they're cruising on down the field. And then right here, he drops back to pass, and he's got an open receiver, and who's on him? It doesn't matter. That was a great pass and a great catch, Steve.
That was a great catch.
Yeah, that was a football player making a play right there. So the Canyons lead 13-0 right there. But then the Renegades offense says, well, we've got some answers too, and look at that.
Wow.
Boss Ross, David Ross, West High product, says, bye-bye. 88 yards and the score. So the Renegades are on the board. Oh, and by the way, our special teams play is good. We got the extra point, 13-7. Canyon still here. Big hit.
Nice hit.
Smoking hit. And that was Terrence Young right there, making some really good plays. He's out of New Jersey. And look at him right here, just behind the line of scrimmage. He's a guy who played wide receiver in high school and made people miss, but he's got good ball sense. Now watch closely here, Steve. The running back gets ahead of steam, and that is the collision in question. And you see Terrence Young there laying on the field, and very unfortunately, we're going to take a slow motion look at this play, but just watch how the energy is absorbed here. And you see Terrence struggling to get up. Watch this hit, Steve. You see Terrence set.
Oh, wow.
And thank God Dr. Baker was there. And the Bakersfield College has some of the best sports medicine around. And you see him raising the arm, or the left arm. Terrence has suffered a pretty serious injury, and I'll fill you in more on that later, but he's getting the best care that we can provide from some world-class physicians, and Dr. Baker, Dr. Tivnon, and the rest of the Renegades sports medicine team. Right there, crisp pass by Canyons. They would score. The extra point was good, and they take a 27 lead. But clearly the Renegade rhythm thrown off just a little bit here, but they're able to bottle up the running back. Look at this. Great pursuit defense by the Renegades. And that is a tackle for a loss. And again, right here, look at this.
Oh, yeah.
Great pursuit. Way to bottle up the quarterback. You get to lay down. And Dalton Gallus, Kern Valley product, former the LA native, he drives in there and gets a touchdown, and it's 2014. And unfortunately, that would be the record of the day. Now, Canyons would get the football back here, and it was very interesting. You see people in the background that are using sunshades, and people have made jokes about there being a hole in the ozone above the San Fernando Valley, and I'm tempted to agree. We were on top of the press box, and my golly, Steve, the air temperature felt like it was 81 degrees, but the sun felt like it was 9 inches away from the top of my head. So I felt like a little bit sun crazy, like minus the rum. And I needed to go sit in the shade for a minute and get my bearings, like it was very strange. But what happened after that last play when Gallus snuck in? Hope was alive, all right?
Right.
And we were stopping them with regularity. They did not look like they were in the same level of fitness as the Renegades, for one thing. But unfortunately, on 3rd and 16,
Right.
Obvious passing down. I don't know that they were going to convert. I feel they thought they could have stopped the Renegades, but here's the thing. Rumor has it that Tarek Yagi was warming up on the sideline. So, yes, I see you furrowing your brow. I haven't had this corroborated. It could have been an Easter bunting sighting for all I know, but I thought I saw him warming up on the sideline. Sometimes it's hard to see numbers from the press box, and he has a double-digit number, and so does Gallus. But I don't know if they felt that maybe he could run a 2-minute drill better than Gallus. I don't know what the thinking was. I'll have to ask Coach Judy when he gets here. But you know the Renegades, they put the best player in to help them win the football game. So, again, hard not to blame the call, though. But you said that we can't do that. We can't leave games up. We missed other opportunities to make things happen in that football game.
Right. I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, you see it in the NFL, this week's Monday Night Football game, the Detroit Lions. I mean, obviously blown call by the NFL officials. You see it at the highest levels of football. Yeah. Games are decided sometimes on missed calls by the officials.
And Steve and I, for the record, nor Bad Mickey Rourke are officials. Steve, you've never taken a class. Hard job, right?
I've been a basketball official, but that's it.
But not a football official.
Not a football.
What a tough job. I mean, we're giving them all the credit in the world.
Because
they don't have the benefit of replay either.
Right. And almost like you said, I'm not an official, but I know some, Nick Ellis, the great photographer
a great guy
for the Californian, was an official for a long time.
Guy's a good prep and college referee now.
And it's a very difficult job because almost on every play there could be a penalty if they really wanted to call it, with all the holds and different things. And so a lot of times, they just have to use their best judgment.
Spirit versus intent and things like that. Yeah.
And it's a tough job, but I know that, like I said, I wasn't watching it, but Vance and Kirk Boyer were very, very livid on the radio broadcast. They were not happy with the call.
Well, and it's not just home cooking. We were all disappointed. Actually, Cheer Coach Heather is here. Cheer Coach Heather, you were there for the game. Were you upset with the officiating?
I was so upset with the heat, first off, that I think I was getting even more heated.
But it wasn't the heat. It was the sun, right?
You're right. Like, I was up in the box with you, and the breeze was beautiful. It was like, wow, this is a really nice weather. But like you said, it was 2 inches away from our heads, that sun. I had 3 girls that had heat strokes within 5 minutes of each other. And
that's crazy.
It was so hot.
No, it was. And then also, something else that made us kind of hot. I don't want to point fingers. I don't want to cast aspersions, because there's no place like home, and we treat our guests great at Memorial Stadium. But, Steve, they don't want to sell our people pizza. What? I swear to goodness.
It was so
Heather,
sad.
Cheer Coach Heather, did you attempt to buy a slice of pizza?
I did. The college was giving away free pizza to all of their fans, and I walked over just to get a piece. I wasn't trying to get anything for free. I just said, sell me something, because they didn't have a snack bar that was worth anything.
Also
so
$4
they would
for
not
a bottle
even
of water.
give me a piece of pizza, and I offered them $5 for a slice. They said, no, that's for our fans only. It is what it is.
Cute gal like that, right? Get out of here with that nonsense. Steve, you did ask me before the segment, and I can fill you in. Terrence Young has suffered a pretty serious injury. And the prognosis, we're not physicians, but what I can tell you, and Dr. Baker is one of the best physicians that anybody could have as their primary care doctor. Dr. Tivnon is an excellent orthopedist, and he has the Renegade family behind him. And we're visiting him. We're keeping his spirits up. He's got a super attitude. Terrence is a great kid, and he is a football savant. So Terrence, I believe, is casually asking me, because Terrence believes I have the same football knowledge that he does. And I don't want to reveal proprietary things that he said, but he asked me, like, do you think we can win this weekend? And I was like, well, Terrence, I hope we always win. And then he goes on, I'm going to totally change the details to protect the innocent. But he's being a kid, talking like a kid. And then he looks at me, and like the Rain Man switch flipped. And he's like, well, I just hope that they remember that when they run the double tight end set and the tailback cheats to the right, 78% of the time he runs to that side. And their guard on the right side, he's athletic. He's got good feet. He will move and get parallel with the tackle. And you need to beat that, and you need to,
Wow.
Whoa, yes. And he's running down the list. They love the pistol, da-da-da-da. I mean, tendencies, plays, 68 is dirty, and, he's a grabber. I was just blown away. And I was like, well, Terrence, obviously we can't wait to see him play on the football field again, but my God, does he have a career in front of him as a coach? So smart kid, great heart. We're all rooting for him. And we'll keep everybody in Renegade Land updated as much as we can. But, Steve, before you go, I love to put you on the spot. How do you feel about the matchup this weekend?
This is a game that BC I definitely feel is going to win. I think this is the best spot on their schedule. Citrus is 0-5. They do have the I know this comparative scores thing doesn't always work, but Citrus played at Canyons their second game of the year and lost 33-20. So that's should be a good omen for BC, and I think BC's improving week to week, and I definitely think this is a game that they should win.
Well, you got David Boss Ross stepping up at the wide receiver position, a position that's been absolutely plagued by injuries for the Renegades. At the running back position, we have a great 1-2 punch. I know that Curtis McGregor is the featured back, but then Isaiah Sharp out of Wasco, my goodness, they're both punishing runners, but in different ways.
Right. McGregor more of a power back,
He's
even though he does have breakaway speed, as we saw that long touchdown a couple weeks ago. On the reception, I think it was 80 plus yards. Yeah. So he does have speed, but Sharp, Wasco / Frontier high school career, a little bit faster, I believe, at least, and more of a breakaway runner.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely correct. Louis Amistoy, Vice President of Content here at the Californian, has walked into the studio. So we're going to break here and come back with one of our soccer players, and I'm going to find out if there's been some sort of accident or something.
You have 6 minutes to fill. Keep going.
Oh, you want me to keep going right now?
I love the lynch mob.
Well, the lynch mob has been on for a little bit. Grab a chair, Louis, if you want to.
I want to sit with the lynch mob.
Okay, perfect. All right, watch out. Here he comes. Amistoy. Cheer Coach Heather, could you bring in our soccer player to sit with you? Perfect. Let's get in here. Louis, we're talking about the ability
By the way, does the cheer coach Heather know that cheerleading was made an officially sanctioned CIF sports day as of today?
Was it really? That is incredible. Steve, scoot this way. Here, Louis, you can just scoot down. It's crazy. We'll do it live! Louis, we're talking about the ability of the Renegades to break the streak, the winless streak so far. And I'm wondering what your opinion on it is. Lynch thinks that the game this weekend against Citrus is very winnable, but I think we felt that way going into the Canyons game. Things obviously didn't break our way. I felt like we were a little bit of a different team after the Terrence Young injury, and it just goes to show how close the Renegade family is. It would have been crazy if they hadn't had a bit of an adjustment in their energy level and direction, wouldn't you say?
I thought that they actually responded pretty well after his injury. There was a definite deflation during that period as we kind of all waited to see what happened or if he was going to be able to be moved off the field. But, you look back and they came back. They did score. They did move the ball. Ultimately the problems with BC this season, and this is the danger for them as they go into this, is that can they sustain drives? Can they move the football? It hasn't happened this season. And Steve, you're the statistician on the deal. I don't know how many times in the first 5 games, maybe Jeff Evans knows, how many times the quarterbacks have been hit, flushed out of the pocket, or sacked. I know they gave up 4 sacks to Canyons. If they continue to give up 4 sacks and not get any significant yardage on these drives from the running backs, they could lose this game to Citrus, and that's what's kind of scary.
Well, the benefit, Steve, unless you had a thought, is just that when we have Gallus in the game, and one thing I've noticed is that Tarek took some pretty significant losses. When he gets flushed or gets into trouble, there wasn't much chance of him turning it up the field and turning a completely busted play that was going to be for Bupkis into even a 2-yard loss or getting back to the line of scrimmage. And Terrence has shown us the ability to not Terrence Young, who's totally obviously on my mind. Dalton Gallus has shown us the ability to do that.
Right. He at least Yagi is more of a drop back style passer, and so when he gets sacked, it's usually a 7, 8, 9 yard loss. Gallus has some of the escapability, so at least he's able, when the defense breaks through, he's able to run around and turn a 9-yard loss into possibly a 2-yard loss, sending up, second and 12 is a heck of a lot better than second and 19 to try to convert. But to Lewis's point, I know they've been sacked more than 20 times. It was 16 times through the first 3 games. Then the 4 with Canyons is 20, and I believe there were a couple sacks in the last home game. So they're over 20. They've allowed over 20 sacks, so far this year.
I feel like, watching BC this season, Riverside was, a really good football team. Long Beach was a really good football team. They've had opportunities to win football games. Actually, I thought that, to tell you the truth, I thought Golden West was the most electric team they played all season athletically. I thought they should have beat Cairns. I thought they should have beat Moore Park. This team could easily be 2-3.
Should have beat Hancock.
Yeah, should have beat Hancock. But you know what? That's what it's at. This is a team, though. I tell you what, if you're Cerritos and you're Ventura, you can't take these guys lightly.
No, I don't think you can either. We have people on this team that can make plays. Coming up next, we're going to talk to a very electric athlete. She's a goalkeeper, but she can also score goals. Also, we're going to check in. We're going to check in with Coach Chudy also, and don't go anywhere. There's a lot more Renegade Report coming up.